welcome back. Today we're going to do a transmission drain and fill along with the new transmission filter and new seal for the pen. This is the part I'm using. It's just from AutoZone. This will work just fine. There's the part number there. And here's your gasket. And I'm going to use Valvoline Max Life to replace the fluid with. So basically, it's just going to be a simple procedure. I'm going to open up the drain plug and let it drain out. And I guess in your case and not my case, since I have a new radiator in here, that all the fluid has been taken out of the radiator as well. So there's two hoses down at the bottom of the radiator. You just you kind of unclip it with it's a hose clamp, and then you just pull them off, and you can let those drain in your bucket or pan or whatever you're going to use. I recommend using a bucket, one similar to this. It's just your regular standard bucket, but this bucket has gauges for how many quarts this bucket holds. This bucket actually holds 11 quarts. This is just to measure how much fluid you get out, and you can replace it, so it gives you a good gauge of how much fluid you need to buy and how much you got to refill. Okay, so first thing, of course, you're going to have to get your car on jack stands or on wheel ramps, which are already done. And so we're going to get down beneath and remove that plug first. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, we're down here below at the transmission pan here. We got to release the plug for the fluid and let that drain. You're going to need a 10mm hex socket or a 10mm Allen key or whatever you have. So alright, so at this point we're going to let this drain. Just let it sit here for a while. Just let it fully drain out. Since we're removing the pan, it's good to try to get out all the fluid you can possibly get. And so after you get the transmission pan drained and you put the plug back on to prevent any spillage, you want to come over here to your radiator. You got your two coolant hoses, one here and one right here that connect. These are your cooler lines for your transmission. It goes into the radiator. You want to do one at a time, of course, or if you have a big enough pan, you can do both at the same time and drain all the fluid that's left in the hose and in the cooling system and the radiator, and that should do it. Okay, so now it's time to remove the 17 10mm bolts that hold the pan up. I already put the plug in there. I had this drain for at least an hour. I went to go do something else and came back. You can put a pan underneath here just in case you got additional spillage. For me, I got a mat down here to capture all of that. Alright, once you got your oil pan removed, it's time to remove the filter. So what you got to do here is you can use a pair of pliers. I'm going to use my finger because it's really easy to bend. We got to release this electrical line off of the filter housing. So I'm just going to lift it up. I'm going to lift it over this way. Just going to bend that out of the way. Of course, have plenty of towels with you because it's still going to be dripping. Fluid's still going to be dripping out of the transmission here. So I like to just blotch it. Once we remove this, you might get a little bit of fluid coming out, so just watch out for that. We got to remove 3 bolts. It's 1, 2, and 3. So I'll start with this one first. These are not on really tight, that's why I'm using the 1/4-inch ratchet. I'll put that aside. Get the other 2. There we go. At this point, I'm just going to get a rag just in case. Kind of hold the filter up while I do this. And that's pretty much why here. Once we release that pressure, then this, I knew it was going to happen, so I'll just let that drain out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this filter out. Here, I'm going to put the filter out of the way, let it collect. Right now I'm just dabbing it just to keep some of this dripping on us. I'm not wearing gloves, of course. You should, but I got a bad habit. Alright, so now I'm going to grab our new filter. Okay, once we got the 3 bolts bolted, remember I just use a 1/4-inch ratchet on these. It's just hand tight. Don't kill these, you will strip them out. The only difference I saw with this filter is they put the wire mount on the opposite side. I don't know if they meant to do that, but I know the one I removed was right here. So that's a little bit of a difference, but it takes it out of the way, and I think we'll be okay there. I don't think it'll be an issue. So now it's a matter of taking the pan and clean it up the best you can. We need to clean out the magnets on it. Make sure any debris or any chips or any metal contaminants are taken off of that. We got to completely remove the gasket off of it. It might be fairly difficult. I believe they used a cork gasket on these, and they tend to cook on. So we have to scrape that clean and start from there. So I'll meet you over at the bench with everything cleaned up. Alright, so I got the pan finally cleaned up. It took a while to scrape all the gasket material off of here. Like I said before, it was baked on, and so it took some time to do, so be prepared for that. Of course, if you don't want to do that, just buy a new pan. But anyway, I scraped it all off with the razor blade, and then I went back, because this is the main surface here in the middle that we're concerned with. I went back with some 500 grit sandpaper and kind of lightly sanded it to make sure that we have a full smooth surface. Of course, I cleaned the magnets off and put them back in position where they're supposed to be, close to that region or whatever. This would be a good time to inspect your drain plug. The little crush washer that's on there, if yours is damaged for whatever reason, go ahead and replace it. Mine wasn't. I'm going to reuse it. And I also got all the bolts for it cleaned up. What you want to do before we install this is get some blue Loctite and just put a small dab on each one of these right here at the end. So it's not going to require much, and actually that was too much, so you know, I'm just going to get that over and spread it to a new one. But it doesn't take much, so don't overdo it. One thing to do before we get over there, sometimes it's a pain to get the gasket lined up on here. So we want to get it set on here first and then take it over to the transmission and install it. So one quick tip, what I'd like to do is I'll get a little bit of grease and just slightly go over these edges ever so slightly. This is going to ensure us that it'll give us a little bit of grip on the gasket from it shifting once we go underneath and lift it on there. So I'll do that real quick. I'm just going to put it in spots. It doesn't have to be exact. Doesn't have to be real thick either. It just gives you a little bit of kind of a little bit of stickiness to it. I don't suggest putting sealant on this portion of the pan. The gasket's going to do all the work for us. So that's a matter of getting our gasket and laying it on here. Make sure that we get all our bolt holes lined up. Kind of press it down once you get to that spot. And so there you go, it's not going to move. And so that helps you, you know, you can shake it, it's not going to move. So just that little grease helps you set it in place. So now it's time to go and put it on back on the transmission. We're going to do a cross hatching pattern of tying these down. It's going to be kind of like a 3-process thing. So we're going to, you know, we'll start in the middles and we'll work our way out just in a crisscross fashion. The spec says we torque down to 90 inch-pounds the first time around. Then the second time around, 20 inch-pounds. You know, if you can actually measure that, I don't have a 1/4 inch torque wrench to even measure that. But I will be using a 1/4 inch ratchet, so I'll over tighten them. And so I'm going to get a good feel by hand of how tight they need to be. Once again, we don't want to kill it. You will strip out the threads on the transmission, okay? Remember, they are aluminum, and they will strip out. So we don't have to go crazy on that. So enough of me talking. Let's go get the work done. Alright, finally got that pan tying down. I think we're good there. We'll double check it after we refill the fluid. So we're going to reflow it through the dipstick here. I'm going to remove it out. I'm just going to clean it off. There shouldn't be anything on there anyway. So one thing to note, and hopefully it comes out on camera here, see if it focus. We have a cold mark and we have a hot mark. And what we're looking for right now is the cold mark. So we're going to refill it. And then you also remember that, put this over here so it won't get lit up. You also remember that we had that that one bucket that read quarts inside. Well, my bucket read about 3.5 quarts, so that's a pretty solid starting point of what I'm going to refill. What I did is I got the 5-quart jug here, and I marked 1.5 quarts on here. So I'm gonna fill it up, and I'm gonna come back and put this on the flat surface and check it. Also, make sure that your car is in somewhat of a flat surface as well when checking the fluid level. So we'll get started filling this thing up. Drain. Alright, so what I'm going to do at this point is just kind of check the level we have in the pan for now. And ours is reading about full. I'll double dip this just to get an accurate measurement here, since I'm sure there's still fluid inside this tube. Yeah, so we're pretty much at the full mark for hot. That is going to change. So this gives us a good starting point. And so what you got to do now is, I'm not going to show you on this video. I'll do it off, off camera. But you're going to want to start your car up. And remember, your fluid's cold at this point. Start it up and run it, and put your foot on the brake and run it through all the gears. So it'd be reverse, neutral, drive. If you have a 1 and a 2, go all the way down, and then slowly go all the way back up. Make sure it goes through all the gears. Put it back in park. Come back up here and see where your cold level is setting at. At this point, if it's lower. If it's lower on the cold mark, then you need to add a little bit more fluid. It's also good to go back down underneath the car and check your pan and make sure there's no leaks from the plug or around the pan. And if there is, maybe you didn't torque down the pan good enough. Try that first, and hopefully that solves your issue if you have a leak. So that pretty much does it for this video. I'm glad that a full 5-quart jug like this covered all the work that we're going to do. This particular car, being a 97, does have a diff. It does have the same fluid in it. It's about 1 quart to drain and refill. So I'll be doing that off camera as well. So thanks for joining me. Hope this helps out. And please like, subscribe, share. Appreciate you guys coming on board. Till next time.